If you feel trapped in a cycle of bills, debt, and constant money stress, you're not alone. But here's the thing. There's a proven roadmap that millions of people have used to break free, and it works no matter how much you make. Today, I'm revealing the 7 stages of financial freedom, the exact progression that takes you from living paycheck to complete money independence. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which stage you're in right now and the exact moves to jump to the next one. Now, here's the part no one tells you. Financial freedom isn't about a magic lottery ticket or becoming a tech billionaire overnight. It's about following a very specific sequence that almost every wealthy person has gone through, whether they realized it or not. So let me ask you, why is it that someone earning $50,000 a year can be more financially secure than someone earning $200,000? The answer is simple. They know the stages and they play the money game differently. Once you see where you are on this roadmap, you'll never look at money the same way again. The first stage is what I call financial dependency. And if you're watching this video, chances are you've experienced this stage at some point in your life. This is where most young adults start, and unfortunately, where many people get stuck for decades. In this stage, you're completely dependent on others for your financial needs. Maybe you're living with parents, relying on student loans, or constantly borrowing money from friends and family. Here's what's happening in your brain during this stage. You haven't developed the neural pathways for financial responsibility yet. Your relationship with money is purely transactional, and you probably view it as something that just appears when you need it. The danger here isn't just the obvious lack of independence, it's that you're training your brain to see money as something external, something you don't control. The psychology behind this stage is fascinating. When we're financially dependent, we develop what researchers call learned helplessness around money. We start believing that our financial situation is determined by external forces, whether that's our parents, the government, or our circumstances. Breaking out of this stage requires a fundamental shift in mindset from victim to creator. So how do you escape financial dependency? It starts with taking responsibility for even the smallest financial decisions. Start tracking every penny that comes in and goes out. Create a simple budget, even if your income is irregular. Most importantly, begin earning some money, any money that you have complete control over. This could be a part-time job, selling items you no longer need, or providing services to others. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is that you're creating your own financial flow. Stage 2 is financial survival, and this is where things get really interesting from a psychological perspective. In this stage, you're covering your basic needs, but just barely. You might be living paycheck to paycheck, constantly worried about unexpected expenses and feeling like you're always one emergency away from disaster. What most people don't realize about financial survival is that it's not just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about the chronic stress response your body's experiencing. When you're in survival mode, your brain is constantly scanning for financial threats, which actually makes it harder to make good long-term financial decisions. You're operating from your reptilian brain, focused entirely on immediate needs rather than future planning. The trap of financial survival is that it feels like progress compared to dependency. So many people accept it as their permanent state. They tell themselves things like, "At least I'm paying my own bills," or "I'm doing better than my parents did." But here's the harsh truth. Survival isn't living. It's just existing with a different set of limitations. Breaking through financial survival requires what I call the stability mindset shift. Instead of just thinking about this month's rent, you need to start thinking about next month's rent. This means creating your first emergency fund, even if it's just $100. It means looking for ways to increase your income while simultaneously reducing your most expensive habits. Most importantly, it means beginning to view money as a tool for building rather than just surviving. The third stage is financial stability, and this is where most middle-class Americans spend their entire lives. In this stage, you've got your basic needs covered, you're building a small emergency fund, and you might even be contributing to a retirement account. You're no longer constantly stressed about money, but you're also not really building wealth. Financial stability feels comfortable, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Your brain releases dopamine when you achieve stability, which can create a false sense of arrival. You think you've made it because you're not struggling anymore, but you're actually in what I call the comfort trap. You have enough to maintain your current lifestyle, but not enough to significantly improve it or handle major life changes. Here's what's really happening in financial stability. You've mastered the art of financial maintenance, but you haven't learned the science of financial growth. You're playing defense with your money instead of offense. Your financial decisions are driven by security rather than opportunity, which means you're missing out on the compound growth that creates real wealth. The psychology of this stage is tricky because stability feels like success, especially if you came from financial stress. But true financial freedom requires moving beyond just stable. It requires building momentum. This means automating your savings so you're paying yourself first, not last. It means beginning to educate yourself about investing, even if you start with small amounts. Most importantly, it means shifting your identity from someone who maintains their finances to someone who actively grows their wealth. Stage 4 is where things really start to accelerate. Financial security. This is the stage where you've got several months of expenses saved, you're consistently investing for the future, and you're starting to see your money work for you rather than just working for money. Your emergency fund can handle most unexpected expenses without derailing your long-term plans. What makes financial security different from stability isn't just the larger numbers, it's the psychological shift that happens when you have options. For the first time, you can make decisions based on what you want rather than what you need. You can take calculated risks because you have a safety net. This is where people often start side businesses, invest in their education, or make career changes that might reduce short-term income, but increase long-term potential. The neuroscience behind financial security is fascinating. When your basic security needs are met, your brain frees up cognitive resources for higher-level thinking. You're no longer operating from scarcity, which means you can see opportunities that were invisible when you were focused on survival. This is why people often report feeling more creative and ambitious once they reach this stage. However, financial security comes with its own psychological trap, the plateau effect. Many people reach this stage and unconsciously slow down their wealth-building efforts because it feels like enough. They've eliminated financial stress, so they assume they've eliminated financial problems. But true financial freedom requires pushing through this plateau and continuing to build momentum. The 5th stage is financial flexibility, and this is where your relationship with work begins to fundamentally change. You've built enough wealth that you could survive for an extended period without working, or you could take significant time off to pursue other interests. Your investments are generating meaningful returns, and you're starting to understand the power of passive income. Financial flexibility is the first stage where you truly taste freedom. You can negotiate from a position of strength because walking away is always an option. You can invest in opportunities that might not pay off for years because you're not dependent on immediate returns. Most importantly, you can start making decisions based on fulfillment rather than just financial necessity. What's happening psychologically at this stage is a complete rewiring of your relationship with work and money. Money stops being something you chase and becomes something that flows to you through systems you've created. Work stops being something you have to do and becomes something you choose to do. This shift in perspective often leads to increased creativity, better relationships, and improved physical health. The challenge of financial flexibility is what I call the lifestyle inflation trap. As your wealth grows, it's natural to want to upgrade your lifestyle. But if your expenses grow as fast as your income, you never actually gain more flexibility. The key is conscious spending, deliberately choosing which lifestyle upgrades truly add value while maintaining or even increasing your savings rate. Stage 6 brings us to financial independence, and this is what most people think of when they hear financial freedom. At this stage, your passive income from investments, business ownership, or other sources covers all of your living expenses. You could literally stop working tomorrow and maintain your current lifestyle indefinitely. Financial independence represents a psychological breakthrough that most people never experience. You're no longer trading time for money in the traditional sense. Your money is working harder than you are, generating enough return to support your lifestyle without depleting the principal. This creates a profound sense of security and autonomy that changes how you show up in every area of your life. But here's something most people don't understand about financial independence. It's not really about the money, it's about the time. When you're financially independent, you own your time completely. You can spend months learning a new skill, years traveling the world, or decades working on passion projects that might never generate income. Time becomes your most valuable asset because you're no longer forced to sell it for survival. The psychology of financial independence often includes what researchers call the identity crisis of success. When work becomes optional, many people struggle with questions of purpose and meaning. Your entire adult life has been structured around the need to generate income. So when that need disappears, you have to rebuild your sense of identity and purpose. This is why it's crucial to develop interests and relationships outside of work long before you reach this stage. The seventh and final stage is financial abundance, where your wealth grows faster than you could possibly spend it. At this level, money becomes a tool for impact rather than personal security. You have enough to support multiple generations, fund causes you believe in, and create opportunities for others. Your financial decisions are driven by legacy rather than necessity. Financial abundance isn't just about having more money than you need. It's about having more money than you can use for personal consumption. This creates unique psychological opportunities and challenges. On one hand, you have the power to make significant positive impact in the world. On the other hand, you have to grapple with questions about responsibility, fairness, and the meaning of wealth. What's fascinating about people who reach financial abundance is that money often becomes less important to them, not more. They've experienced every level of financial security, so they understand viscerally that beyond a certain point, additional wealth doesn't increase happiness or fulfillment. Instead, they often become focused on how to use their wealth to create value for others. Now that you understand all 7 stages, let's talk about the meta strategy for moving through them faster. The biggest mistake people make is trying to skip stages or thinking they can jump from 1 to 7 overnight. Each stage builds psychological and practical skills that are necessary for the next level. Someone who inherits wealth without developing these skills often loses it quickly because they haven't built the mental framework to manage it. The acceleration strategy is about optimizing your progression through each stage rather than trying to skip them. This means developing multiple income streams as early as possible, because diversification isn't just about investment portfolios, it's about revenue sources. It means living below your means at every stage so you can invest the difference into assets that generate passive income. Most importantly, it means developing what I call wealth consciousness, which is different from just wanting to be wealthy. Wealth consciousness is understanding money as energy that flows through systems, and your job is to build better systems that capture and direct that energy. People with wealth consciousness see opportunities everywhere because they understand the underlying patterns of value creation. Here's the psychological key that ties everything together. Your financial stage isn't determined by your circumstances, it's determined by your decisions. Every day you're making hundreds of micro decisions about money, and these decisions either move you toward the next stage or keep you stuck where you are. The people who progress fastest are those who make these decisions consciously rather than automatically. The biggest barrier to financial progression isn't lack of knowledge or opportunity, it's a psychological comfort of familiarity. Each stage requires you to become a slightly different person with different habits, different priorities, and different ways of thinking about money. This transformation can feel uncomfortable, which is why so many people unconsciously sabotage their progress when they get close to the next level. Your assignment after watching this video is to honestly assess which stage you're currently in and identify the specific actions needed to reach the next level. Don't try to jump stages, just focus on the next one. If you're in financial dependency, focus on creating any independent income source. If you're in financial survival, focus on building that first emergency fund. If you're in financial stability, focus on increasing your investment contributions. Remember, financial freedom isn't a privilege reserved for a select few. It's a learnable skill set that anyone can develop by understanding and systematically progressing through these 7 stages. The journey takes time, but every step forward compounds, and once you understand the roadmap, the destination becomes inevitable rather than just possible. The most successful people I've studied didn't have special advantages or secret knowledge. They just understood that financial freedom is a process, not an event. They committed to the process, trusted the progression, and stayed consistent even when progress felt slow. That's exactly what you can do too, starting right now with your very next financial decision.